What if I told you the car Lewis Hamilton crossed the finish line in wasn't the same car he started the race with? Not in setup, not in fuel load, but in raw power output. Modern Formula One engines don't have one maximum setting. They have 10, sometimes more. Teams dial power up and down lap by lap, moment by moment, like a musician adjusting volume on a soundboard. And in those final 10 laps, when victory hangs by 1,000th of a second, engineers activate modes their rivals didn't even know existed. Today, we're decoding the invisible menu behind every aggressive overtake, every defensive hold, and every desperate push to the line. The difference between first and second place often isn't the driver or the chassis. It's what the engineer just unlocked on the dashboard. In the modern hybrid era, fuel consumption and battery management aren't just efficiency concerns. They're weapons, strategically deployed across 305 kilometers. A team that burns through its ERS budget too early sits powerless in the closing laps, watching rivals disappear down the Mulsanne or into turn one. But a team that calculates perfectly, that knows exactly when to harvest, when to push, when to save, can find 5, sometimes 10 extra kilometers per hour when it matters most. This is where championships are won and lost in the shadows of telemetry. Invisible to the broadcast camera, but absolutely visible on the timing screen. Imagine your engine as a library of power. Not one single shelf, but 10 different shelves, each one locked with a combination only the pit wall knows. When the engineer reaches for their laptop, they're not just turning a dial, they're opening a specific shelf, reading a specific book, and handing your driver a specific amount of energy to burn. That book is called a power map, and it's built over months of dyno testing. Endless hours in a garage where engineers map how the engine behaves at every RPM, every temperature, every fuel mixture imaginable. They're asking the engine dozens of questions. What happens at 15,000 RPM when the turbo is screaming and the exhaust is superheating? How much boost can we add without cracking the pistons? Where does the fuel burn cleanest, and where does it turn into waste heat that bakes the radiators? Every answer becomes a coordinate on an invisible map that the driver will execute at 300 kilometers per hour. But here's where it gets tactical. The engine can't live at full power for 2 hours. The cylinders would melt. The oil would turn to soup. So teams create multiple maps, call them modes, each one a calculated compromise. Mode 1 might be a lean fuel setting that sips gasoline and lets the ERS battery charge, but it costs you 2 horsepower. Mode 5 is aggressive. Rich fuel, full turbo boost, maximum electrical assistance, but it devours your fuel tank and drains your battery pack in seconds. The art is knowing which shelf to open at which moment. Use aggression on lap 1 and you're coasting on fumes into the final corner. Use nothing but conservation and you cross the line wondering what you left on the table, wondering if that last tenth was stolen by your own caution. Abu Dhabi, 2016. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg are locked in a championship decider. And with 15 laps to go, Mercedes makes a crucial call. They shift Rosberg into an aggressive power mode, bleeding his battery reserve to hunt Hamilton down. It's a gamble written in kilowatts. Rosberg catches him, passes him, but then the math catches up. His battery dies, his pace collapses, and Hamilton wins the championship because Mercedes misread the fuel equation on one of their power modes. Fast forward to 2018. Daniel Ricciardo and the Red Bull team at Monaco face a different puzzle entirely. Not raw speed, but precision. Monaco has no straights, no DRS zones, and tire temperature is everything. So they don't chase maximum power modes at all, instead running a mode that's almost surgical. Lower boost, richer fuel, harvesting electrical energy through the tight, technical corners where nobody's watching the telemetry. It sounds conservative, it sounds slow, until you watch Ricciardo's lap times compressed into that narrow window where every tenth is guarded. And suddenly, the engine map isn't about having the most horsepower in the garage. It's about having exactly the right horsepower at exactly the right moment. These aren't hypotheticals or back-of-the-paddock speculation. These are the invisible decisions that have won and lost championships. And they're made not by the driver, but by engineers staring at a screen full of numbers, trying to read the future. Now here's the question that keeps engineers awake. What if you could predict the exact moment your rival runs out of energy before he even knows it himself? Imagine you're running mode 7 out of 10. Safe, efficient, championship points guaranteed. But your strategist sees your closest rival climbing into mode 9 with 5 laps to go. You could jump to mode 10 right now and hunt him down, but you've got no safety net. One safety car, one surprise, and your engine is a passenger for the final restart. That split-second choice, stay disciplined or go all in, is the invisible duel happening inside every power unit, every race weekend. And it's why the engineer's job is sometimes harder than the driver's. So here's what to take home. Modern power units aren't maxed out. They're managed like a chess game, with 10 modes waiting to be deployed at precisely the moment that wins or loses the race. Second, those engine maps are the invisible championship deciders. Every tenth of a second you see on track comes from decisions made months before in simulation, refined in the garage, and executed by engineers who understand their rivals better than their rivals understand themselves. And third, the driver's job is half about pedal control and half about trusting the strategy. Because the real duel isn't on the track, it's on that engineer's screen, reading the future one lap at a time. So tell us in the comments, what F1 technology mystifies you most? Aerodynamics, stalling, brake balance, tire temperature management, or something else entirely? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode where we decode it. Because the truth is always more fascinating than the mystery. See you trackside.